Take a look at some of the headlines after President Trump's decision to end DACA. This editorial from the New York Times titled, "Donald Trump's Cowardice on Dreamers." How about this one from the Washington Post? Trump's heartless decision. Joining us now, Fox News contributor Nigel Farage. The mainstream media here is apoplectic over this immigration decision. What does it look like from Britain?
Well, of course, we're supposed to be compassionate and nice and lovely and wonderful people. And wasn't it clever that when DACA was introduced, the term dreamers was the word that was used, so how could any normal, nice human being ever be against dreamers? I can draw a parallel for you with what happened here in Europe in 2015. We were told that people who were fleeing for their lives from Syria and oppression elsewhere were coming across the Mediterranean in boats, and what we should do is open our hearts and minds and allow as many of these people to come, because we should be compassionate. We were told this by Jean-Claude Juncker from the European Commission. We were told this, of course, by Chancellor Merkel from Germany, who said we can cope with as many as you want to send. And now we find, 2 years down the track, terrible problems with integration, a massive rise in all sorts of crimes and sexual crimes in capitals all over Europe.
Nigel, I think that's a false comparison. I don't think you compare these 800,000 youngsters brought here without any knowledge of their own who are still here. I don't think you can compare them to the migrants who flooded into Europe in 2015. That's a false comparison.
I think
too harsh.
No, it's not. It's not a false comparison, because what happens is we're told we have to be compassionate in order, in one case in Europe, to be weak and allow terrorists to come in, and in the case of America, to ride roughshod through sensible immigration rules. So there are 800,000 adults living in America illegally, who are there and are pardoned because they came into the USA when they were children. So what does that lead to? It leads to, effectively, the trafficking of people at America's southern borders, and, as Attorney General Jeff Sessions quite rightly said, actually, some pretty nasty humanitarian situations. This is what the left do. They use the word compassion to win the argument, and generally they do.
Okay. I want to ask you about North Korea. I want to know what Europe thinks about North Korea. I mean, Europe doesn't play much of a role in diplomacy when North Korea is concerned. What's the view from Britain of America's crisis, I guess you could call it, with North Korea?
Well, Theresa May, the British Prime Minister, has spoken to President Trump and agrees that we should use whatever economic or diplomatic means we can to deal with the problem. And Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson was very clear yesterday in the House of Commons behind me that this has been caused by Kim's behaviour, not by Donald Trump's behaviour. What is remarkable is we are hearing almost nothing from France, Germany, the European Commission themselves, and it's as if the European Union is so obsessed with itself, with its own problems, with the migration policy, which I mentioned earlier, with the Eurozone and with Brexit, that it's almost withdrawn itself from playing a full diplomatic role on the world stage. We've heard nothing from them, and I don't expect to either.
I think you're right, Nigel, on that one. Definitely right. Nigel Farage, everyone, frequent guest and a valued guest. We appreciate you being with us. Thank you, Nigel. Okay.